Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Vikings Report. He's Fred. I'm Lamont. She's on Esther. Liz is either Julio or Rolo. My dad could never make out who was who, so he just started calling both of them Rolio. Drew Bunting, how are you?
Remember Rolo? He was part of my childhood. Me and my brother would howl at that show.
Yeah, it was hands down my dad's favorite show. That or Hogan's Heroes.
What about Red Fox and Esther?
Oh, it's great. Just a great show.
Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Toonses, how are you?
I'm doing so good now that I know we don't have to look at Sean Payton's stupid face anymore this year.
He got thrown into the Sanford and Son junk pile yesterday, didn't he?
Yes, he did, and I'm very happy.
Oh, man, that's great.
So we've got a really big shoe, as Ed Sullivan used to say way back in the day. But kind of this segment I'm really kind of digging, we started it last week, is behind Drew. Over his right shoulder, he has a jersey of a former Viking great. Drew, who do we have tonight?
Tonight, we are featuring the great Robert Smith. And don't say it. I know you're going to say it during this segment. I don't want you to mention that school. We're going to try to get through the segment without... Just go ahead and say it.
He went to Ohio State.
For goodness sake, man. Why am I even trying to say myself?
He went to Ohio State.
One of the greatest Vikings to ever play, Mr. Robert Smith. Just the smoothest running, long striding running back you could ever imagine. He's one of my favorite people to watch play. He had eight seasons, I believe, here with the Vikings. Most productive was the year his last year, which was kind of strange. He had 1,521 yards in 2000, and then that was it for him in the NFL. But man, 6-time Viking leading rusher, just a great football player. And the greatest memory, I don't know about you, it probably had to be the one shoe run against Pittsburgh. Remember that one?
Yeah, I do remember that. I remember a huge game he had in, I think it was 1998 against the Bears at Soldier Field. He had a couple big, I can't remember if it was a pass out of the backfield and a big run, but that was like the first game I had seen the Vikings that year because I was like overseas for a good part of that season. I didn't come home until October, I think it was.
He had 170 yards rushing, a touchdown. He had a 72-yard run that was just beautiful, man. It was just a total just pulling away from everybody.
He was just a phenomenal. When he retired, he was the Vikings all-time leading rusher. He had passed the great spin doctor, Mr. Chuck Foreman, I believe.
He's still second all-time in Viking rushing yards with 6,818, 38 total touchdowns, 33 on the ground. Very, very solid ball carrier when it came to turning the ball over also. In fact, in 1,600 carries, he had 9 fumbles. And if you wanted to compare that to Adrian Peterson had 2,600 touches. He had 39 fumbles.
Wow.
And Robert Smith had about 1,600 touches, and he had 9 fumbles. And granted, that's 1,000 more touches that Adrian had, but I think in 1,000 touches, Robert Smith wasn't putting it on the ground 30 more times.
Yeah, and I think, didn't Adrian Peterson have like 9 fumbles in 1 year? It sure seems like it, or it was close. I didn't think Robert Smith ran. He was more of a glider. It was like he was gliding on ice skates.
You could put a cup of coffee on top of that guy's head and a little saucer. He could run 80 yards and take the coffee and not spill a drop in the end zone and have a sip. He was the smoothest runner I've ever seen out of the backfield. And people say, "Oh, you retired early," which you probably did in football standards, but you know, a guy wants to do something else with his life. You gotta respect that.
He kind of always swam against the current. I mean, in Ohio State, he was there from 90 to 92, and he didn't play the 1991 season. I don't know if you remember that, but he sat out because he was a pre-med guy. And John Cooper and I think maybe the position coach, I can't remember exactly, one of the, you need to quit studying and come do football. And he's like, no, I'm not. I got to go study. So he actually quit. And then his second year, he attended Ohio State on a track and field scholarship. And then he came back his third year and then went to the NFL.
Robert Smith, one of the greatest Vikings ever, man. I'm glad to have his jersey up today and talk a little bit about him. It's always good to a little reminiscent about some of these older players. And we're not always going to have old players. We're going to have modern day players too, because we know you got that young audience out there. They want to keep track of their players too. And we're here to give it our all.
All right. So that closes the book on Robert Smith, great Viking. Great Buckeye, because yes, he went to Ohio State. But before I want to tell you what we have coming up, because you're thinking, well, how can you guys do a show every week with the season essentially over for the Vikings? Well, we've got a lot of draft stuff coming up. When we start getting into the draft after the Super Bowl, we're going to do a position group a week, and we're going to talk some draft picks. We're going to talk some potential free agents. We're going to talk any Vikings free agents that we may or may not want back. We talked about them real briefly a couple shows ago, but we're really going to hit it hard on whether or not we want them back. And it's all going to culminate, folks. I'd love to make this announcement. When's it going to culminate, Drew? What are we going to do?
On April 29th, when we have our big party with the live draft coverage. We're going live.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Boom.
If we can give enough money to the FCC to allow it.
Yeah. So we'll be live on our YouTube channel, Vikings Report with Drew and Ted, and we are going to have a special guest, one Mr. Christopher Gates, my old boss from the SB Nation Minnesota Vikings site, the Daily Norseman. He'll be joining us.
Tremendous.
We'll be live on the air Thursday night for the entire first round. We'll be on a little bit before then. We'll figure out exactly what time it'll be, but I'm really, really looking forward to doing that live show, Drew and Toonses. I hope you guys are too.
Oh, it's going to be a riot. We have a game that we played last year. Remember that draft game we had?
Yes.
Gates played with us. I don't know who won that thing. So we're going to be doing a little rematch with that, and we'll be live. So you'll be able to join in. You'll be able to join in with the first round picks. We're going to have prizes. We're going to have it all. We're going to have a hell of a night, and we want you to be there with us.
Yeah,
April 29th.
Love for as many people to join us as you can. So it was announced right before, just a couple hours before we fired up the computers, and Tom Pelissero tweeted out, and Drew, you're the expert on this, so you tell me how this is going to shake out. But the NFL informed clubs that the 2021 scouting combine officially is changing formats per a source. There will be no in-person workouts. There's going to be pro days on campus instead, it's kind of been trending that way for a few years anyways. But all the interviews and psychological testing and all that are going to be virtual. There's going to be limited in-person medical exams, and that won't happen likely until early April. And Tom Pelissero finished off the tweet with a whole new world. So, Drew, how does that affect scouting and drafting and draft boards and all that? You're the draft expert.
I think what it really is going to affect all of us guys who do the in-depth draft research. The combine is a huge part of it. Cam Akers, I had him as my 8th ranked running back, and then I watched his performance at the combine. I put him all the way up to number 2 last year. So in terms of the people doing the draft research, it's huge for us because even though it's limited coverage on TV, and I'm not actually there because I don't think the league wants me there for some reason. They hate Drew.
It's me, Snakes. I got the stuff.
Leave it on the doorstep and get the hell out of here.
But for me, it does affect when you're researching these guys. You know, it really affects the players even more. Take a guy like Jeremy Chin, the safety from Southern Illinois. Jeremy Chin drastically improved his draft status with his combine performance last year. One of the best combines I've ever seen. In the measurables, all the drills, the guy was killing it. Cam Akers in the drills, he improved his draft status. Adam Troutman, the tight end from Dayton, how much he improved his draft status with his killer combine. So it does affect these players and where they're going to be drafted too. If you have a really good combine, that can shoot you up from the 4th round to the 1st or 2nd. So it's going to be weird. It is a weird world because you're just going to have to go without it and probably give Spielman another built-in excuse to give the draft falls through.
Well, I was going to ask you that. So this is going to really put a lot of emphasis on watching film and determining whether or not what you see on film can translate to what you do for your team. Does it not?
Absolutely does. Absolutely does. And let's not forget, because of COVID, a lot of these college players, they opted out. So the footage you're looking at from them is actually 2 years ago. There's a lot of guys, whether they're blue chippers or mid-round guys, that took the year off. Not only are you not going to have a combine, you're going to have to go back a couple of years to look at the footage they had. It's going to be a lot tougher. Evaluations are going to be a lot harder this year.
Wow. It's going to be interesting for sure. But we'll be there live April 29th, first round. And we'll do the whole thing.
It will be unscripted, as we do everything unscripted. And as you notice by watching the show, we're also pretty unprepared. So between unprepared and unscripted, it's going to be a wild time, Ted Glover.
So we may not know anything, but at least we won't be ready for it. All right. So for tonight's show, we got a really big show coming up tonight. We've got some Vikings talk. We're going to talk about Dalvin Cook and then a big personnel move in the Vikings front office this week. And then some things we think we might be able to do to fix the Vikings. We're going to move on to the NFL, get a quick recap of the divisional playoff round, and we're going to hit on one team in particular, and do another maybe compare and contrast with the Vikings. And then from there, we're going to move to Toons' trivia, and then we're getting down to the nitty-gritty for the playoff picks, and then we'll wrap up the show. So, are we ready?
We are ready. Ret to Geo.
All righty, let's go then. So, the first thing, Dalvin Cook. Let me pull up the tweet here. Dalvin Cook was named onto the first team by the Pro Football Writers of America on the All-NFL team and the All-NFC team, the only Viking to get such an honor. Well done, Dalvin Cook, and I think it was an award quite warranted. Drew?
Absolutely warranted. 3,661 yards in 43 games. I know he's had his injury problems, but all that aside, Dalvin Cook has been the real deal. He is 8th all-time on the franchise rushing list with his 3,661 yards. And if he gets 886 more yards, he will move into 5th place, passing 3 running back legends of the Minnesota Vikings. Do you know those 3, Ted Glover?
Dave Osborne?
He will pass Dave Osborne. That's one.
Ted Brown?
He will pass Ted Brown.
Who's the third guy?
Darren Nelson. He will pass Darren Nelson.
Yeah, okay.
Dave Osborne and Ted Brown and move into 5th all time. The guy's an amazing player. I really have enjoyed watching Dalvin Cook when he's been healthy and been able to play. He deserves everything. He deserves all the awards. He was our MVP this year.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree. We talked about Robert Smith at the top of the show. There's some similarities between Cook and Smith. I don't know if a lot of people don't remember, but Robert Smith, he was drafted. I think he was a first-round pick out of the Vikings in '93. He had a little bit of injury history at Ohio State, and then he had some fairly significant injuries early on in his Vikings career until like 96 or 97, I think it was, when he finally got healthy and we could see what he could do. And those guys run, I would say Cook is a little bit more of a violent runner, but they're both silky smooth when they have the ball running in the open field.
Robert Smith ended with 32 rushing touchdowns, and Dalvin Cook has 33. So they're right there pretty much neck and neck, even though Smith played 98 games for the Vikings. And like I said, Dalvin Cook's only played 43. So a lot of games in difference, but both of them have the one thing you want from your running back. You can house it to the pay dirt every time they touch the ball.
And that's either running the ball or catching out of the backfield. And both, Cook is a phenomenal pass receiver. And as was Robert Smith, I thought he was very, very good at doing that as well.
I thought Robert Smith was really poorly underused as a receiver. I mean, he only had 1,300 yards in his career. That's not a lot. I don't think the Vikings used him enough as a receiver.
No, but, they also had guys like Anthony Carter and Chris Carter and then Randy Moss.
True.
I mean, and they had, Andrew Glover was a pretty decent pass catching tight end back then. And it's funny you mentioned Smith being underutilized. We talked the other last show or a couple shows ago how Dalvin Cook might be being overutilized. I mean, they're using him an awful lot.
356 touches. I don't even think that counts the last game. He had a lot of touches, man. So
jeez, yeah.
I don't even know. We were 7-9. I don't even know if we win 3 games without Dalvin Cook last year, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So, there's some bright spots in the Vikings. We've kind of been fairly negative, but Dalvin Cook, we talked Justin Jefferson last week. There's some pieces the Vikings have that they can build around and hopefully, get back to their winning ways. And Dalvin Cook is certainly one of them. So the other big news in Vikings land, George Paton, it's Paton, pronounced Peyton, no relation to Walter, or Eddie, for that matter,
or Sean,
and we can all be thankful for that. After years and years of being the assistant GM for the Vikings and interviewing for 3 or 4 jobs, it seems, every offseason, he finally left and took a job to become the general manager for the Denver Broncos. So, first of all, congratulations, George Paton. Best of luck, except when you play the Vikings. And here's what current Vikings general manager Rick Spielman had to say about it. He said, we're going to stay status quo in terms of filling Peyton's position. I know I have a lot of very talented people in this building. It's a hard void to fill. It'll give me an opportunity to see some of our people fill that void. Go ahead, Drew. What are your thoughts on that?
At the, so at the end of the season, we can put there was no combine.
COVID. We're still going to use COVID as an excuse?
We lost George Payton. That'll be number 2. And number 3, I'll come up with number 3 tomorrow.
Okay. All righty.
How long was he here? What 12 years or something?
Yeah, 12, 14 years. He was with the Vikings a very long time.
So how in-depth was the decision-making he was involved with? I mean, what?
There was more than one person associated with or close to the Vikings that said that George Payton was the best evaluator of talent in the building. So take that information for what it's worth. And they're not gonna fill that void before the draft, coming off a 7-9 season. We're just gonna kind of wing it. See how it goes.
The guy was great at evaluating talent, but we're not going to worry about filling that spot. Hey, give me a drink. Every time you read me some of these tweets or these things that they're very not reassuring, Ted.
No, they're not.
Hit me with some assuring ones that say, yeah, we're going to be badass and kick some balls next year. We're going to win the NFC North. Where are those messages? Why don't you read me those messages? I don't ever hear any of those messages. I just hear, we're going to be, I don't know what we're going to do.
I can't do it because they're not there.
I'm not sure what we're going to do. We're not going to worry about filling that role.
Doesn't it seem like there's not much of a sense of urgency with the Vikings?
It doesn't seem at all like there's any, like they're playing the cool cat card. I mean,
if there are two guys that are 100% sure they're not getting fired anytime soon, it's Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman, based on the way they've been talking since the end of the season.
I have a little bit of a theory on when we talked, how do they talk themselves into another year? I got a little bit of a theory on it, and I could probably put it in words in less than a minute so I don't bore everybody at home.
Go for it.
I mean, I was right about the Urban Meyer thing, wasn't I?
Dead on accurate.
I was right about the Doug Peterson thing, wasn't I?
You nailed the whole Doug Peterson situation in Philly.
I think Zimmer went in there and said, sit down, Zig, I need to talk to you. And I think he played this card because all of us are wondering, how did he buy another year? I think Zimmer came at him pretty hard and said, listen, when I got here in 2014, you guys were shit. I came in here. I built that defense. I got us an identity. I got us rolling in the right direction. We took that all the way to the title game in 2017. I did that. I built that, and I deserved a chance to build it again.
From me! I'm the cat!
He had Barr and Bridgewater, Jerick McKinnon. You got those guys, and he got Hunter and Kendricks. He drafted Stephon Diggs. He was hitting with a bunch of people. He built the team back up. So I think he said, we may be down right now, but when you were down and I came here in 2014, I'm the one who moved it around. I'm the one who changed it. It was me. I was the head coach, and I deserve another shot. And as he's telling Wolf this, Spielman's sitting there with popcorn nodding. And I think Zimmer came at him like that. I think that's how he sold him on it. It was crap when I got here. I built it. I deserve a chance to build it again. That's all I have. That's all I can come up with.
Did you watch Bugs Bunny cartoons when you were a kid?
Dude, I watched Underdog. I still watch them.
Do you remember the one cartoon where there was this big, huge, mean-looking dog and this little yippy dog? And the big dog was called Spike. And it was like Spielman was talking. Yeah, Spike, you tell him, Spike. Yeah, Spike, you tell him. That's right, Spike, you tell him.
Hey, you want I should dig up some bones for you? Anything you say, Spike. Because you and me is pals. That's right, ain't it, Spike?
That was on Tom and Jerry, dude.
Yes.
That's the only thing I can come up with is instead of taking the route of, oh, I'm sorry and all this, Zimmer went on the attack and said, listen, when I got here, this was a mess. You need me to fix it. And Wilf, he just, okay, let's.
You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
What other angle could he use? I mean, he can't use his press conferences. They're terrible.
I mean, between him saying 7-9 was the best we could have done, and this, this quote by Spielman saying, we're just basically going to stay status quo. When you add in all the weirdness of this offseason, I don't think it's going to be as bad. I think they're going to be able to do OTAs and mini camps and all that. But this is arguably the most important draft for Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman, because if they don't hit this draft and this team tanks again, they're gonna get fired. I mean, I think they should be gone now, but they're not going. They're staying. So that's It is what it is. They're going to be the coach and the GM for 2021. But if they don't have a good season, they're not going to be back. So I would think they would be hustling like nobody's business to try and start working. And I'm sure they're working hard, but they're just not giving off that vibe like they are at all.
Now, if you play Wilf on the other side of the desk, he says, listen, sit down. I believe everything you say, but are you that same guy that came in here in 2014? That would be a fair question back to Zimmer.
That is a great point, because I agree. I don't think he is. I think, that guy that was willing to give up the eyesight in his right eye for this football team, that passion or that desire is not what it was. I absolutely 100% agree.
And a guy that wanted to kick Jeff Fisher's ass for taking a cheap shot at his quarterback.
I'll maintain this until the day I die. If at the end of that game, if Zimmer had gotten his team together, he said, look, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go to the 50-yard line and I'm going to deck Jeff Fisher with an uppercut. And then it's go time. You pick a guy and you don't leave the field until they're crippled. Everybody would have been in. They'd have done it. And the Rams would still be in the hospital here somewhere in Minneapolis.
Friggin' Warriors movie.
That come out and play. I mean, yeah.
Warriors, come out to play.
I mean,
there it is. Chakalaka, 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 chakalaka. You gotta love that commercial, Ted.
That's a great one.
And you guys, Toonses, I'm a commercial hater, dude. I volume down they anger me. That one, I replay.
You like the parental life ones?
The what?
The guy telling new homeowners not to act like your parents. Those are hysterical. They're all every single one.
We all see it. We all see it.
It's blue. His hair is blue.
Got blue hair. Got blue hair.
We all see it.
He has blue hair.
Okay.
Blue.
Progressive can't protect you from becoming your parents.
All right. So with that, earlier in the week, Judd Zulgad, who he was a longtime beat reporter for the Star Tribune, covering the Vikings. He moved over to radio. He's now on SKOR North. He came up with these short-term moves to fix the Vikings. 5 short-term moves. Now, we have to go with the realistic ones. We're not going to do the, fire Zimmer and Spielman. We're going to deal with reality. So I'll just sort of rattle them off and we can just kind of go off. Thing number 1, cut Kyle Rudolph, tight end Kyle Rudolph. It gives you $5 million in salary cap savings. You on board with that move or not?
I am on board with that move.
Yeah, I mean, his production has just gone down. His salary for 2021 is going to be astronomical.
It's time for Irv Smith to move into full-time, taking that position over.
Yeah, I think he's more than capable of being able to do the job. So that's thing number 1. Thing number 2, I think the Vikings need to get a legitimate wide receiver 3 in free agency. And we'll talk about all that later and who that could be. But Drew, I don't know about you, brother, but after Thielen and Justin Jefferson, I'm sick of. I mean, it's like year 12 now of Olabisi Johnson breaking out, and he just hasn't. I think they need a legit guy to help take the pressure off those two.
I think you're absolutely right. And signing Tajay Sharp isn't going to get us excited again. You know what we're going to find that guy? We're going to find him in the draft.
You think so?
Yeah, there's some. I mean, last year's class was really good at wideout, probably the best class we've had in 20 years. But this is no slouch this year. We're gonna land our guy. I think we can find him in the draft.
Mid-round guy? You think like 3rd, 4th, 5th round, or where
Yeah,
do you think?
I think the other areas are way more pressing for the Vikings, positionally speaking. But I think we could land a guy that's maybe like a D.D. Westbrook, somebody how he was in Oklahoma. One of those guys that's not exactly a big star name like. The kid for Alabama that caught all that yardage the other day.
I've never heard of him.
And
I don't know who you're talking about.
But I'm not anybody after Thielen and Justin Jefferson. They're all like the same guy, aren't they? I mean,
and they're all terrible.
They're all all right. We agree on that then.
I think they absolutely have to get 2 legitimate starting interior linemen, starting guards.
You're not leaving Cleveland over there then?
Well, I'll tell you what. Okay, let's move to this one then. I think they're going to cut Riley Reif, which is an $11 million cap savings, and
that's happening. That's going to happen.
I mean, some people are saying restructure. They did him dirty right at the end of camp last year. It was restructure, or get cut. I think if the Vikings ask him to restructure this year, he's going to say no, and they're going to cut him, and they're going to move Ezra Cleveland to tackle. They only drafted him to be their left tackle of the future, then started playing him at guard last year.
He hasn't played over there, Ted. I mean.
I know.
Left tackle. Besides corner and quarterback in this league, left tackle is the most important position.
Yeah, it is.
Who knows what goes on with that offensive line, dude? There's more movement around that thing than Lindsay Lohan's apartment on a weekend. There's a lot of movement going on in that offensive line, brother.
If we do cut Reef and move Ezra Cleveland to left tackle, that means the Vikings now need to get 2 starting guards. Whether it's free agency or the draft, they got to get 2 guys that are better than the human turnstile in Ezra Cleveland.
You almost got to get them early, too. That's why they need a second-round pick. That second-round pick we don't have, we need to reacquire that so we can go get that kid from Ohio State. Did I just say that out loud?
Yeah, you did.
He is the best guard in this draft, and his name is escaping me right now, but Nubbs, my buddy Nubbs,
yeah,
he swears it. He swears by him. He says he's the real deal. So we do need at least one guard up early in that draft and maybe some other guy in free agency, but I am in agreement. Unless Ezra Cleveland is going to just be your guard, then you need one. But
yeah, I think they need to get 2.
Dakota Dozier, how do you sum up that guy, Ted? Dakota Dozier, sum it up for me.
Cut him. That's how you sum up Dakota Dozier. Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia.
God.
What a sad lump of football player that guy is.
All right, so we got our last thing to do. I think they need to get a defensive tackle, a 3 technique with Michael Pierce coming back next year. If they could get decent interior linemen next to Pierce, hopefully Daniil Hunter comes back and doesn't hold out like the rumor is, and they can maybe trade for Yannick Ngakoue again. I don't know. That'd be cool. Whatever. But they've got to improve their defensive line. The Vikings pass rush, I think, was almost dead last in the league in terms of pressures and sacks. They were just horrid.
It was terrible.
And they need to improve their run defense. That was bad too. And I think that's something they're going to need to address early in the draft.
So you don't see an interior defensive lineman that is currently on the roster that can help fill that spot besides Michael Pierce?
No.
I don't see.
Not at all.
You're not laying your money at the Vegas line on Jaleel Johnson anymore?
No. Or Jalen Holmes.
That guy was so good at Iowa, Ted.
That's what happens when you move your defensive line coach to deputy vice president, defensive coordinator in charge of game planning or whatever they named Andre Patterson.
Deputy vice president.
God. Just into the regional manager garbage.
And that's why you have an assistant regional manager.
Yes, it is. Assistant to the regional manager.
Same thing.
Now, you know what they got to do? They got to get DJ Dozier, Jaleel Johnson, Stephen, BC Johnson, Chad Beebe, put them all on a bus and just get rid of all those guys at the same time so we can. That would at least get me fired up. Make a fresh start on the roster, dude.
A lot of guys that they have spent 3 or 4 years waiting to develop that never have developed.
It's over.
It's
over.
Time. It's time.
Holy hell, son, you're about as useful as a cock-flavored lollipop.
All right, so that is our 5 quick things. Cut Riley Reef, move Ezra Cleveland to left tackle is our first one. Cut Kyle Rudolph, get a legit wide receiver 3, not Tajay Sharp, who was active for all of 2 games and who was like he was the big free agent signing last year.
Yeah, remember that? All the posts that were being made with him in purple.
Oh, he's going to get 500 or 600 yards, and he had like 2 targets. He was never even active. I mean, come on. What is going on? And then, but we're going to maintain the status quo. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great. So that should about do it for our Viking stuff. So now we need to move on to the NFL news. And we talked about the big news that hit with the Combine today. So the divisional playoffs for this weekend, we're not getting to our picks yet. But the one thing I want to talk about is the team from Wisconsin, the Green Bay Packers. Finished the season 13-3, and they are in the NFC Championship game again after putting a whooping to the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL, the Los Angeles Rams.
Number 1 ranked defense, right? I got a stat to lead your whole segment in.
Go.
Since 1970, no team has ever rolled up 484 yards on the number 1 ranked defense in the postseason ever.
Are you serious?
First time it's ever happened in the what people call the modern era, 1970 forward.
I would argue the Green Bay Packers currently sit where the Minnesota Vikings want to be, where any team in the NFL wants to be. The number 1 seed, playing at home in the NFC Championship for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And the Vikings are not. I mean, they're not.
Irritating.
Let's look at what the Packers did to get here. 2 years ago, they hired Matt, cram it up your cram hole, LaFleur.
Cram it up your cram hole, LaFleur.
Sorry. And in 2 years, Drew Bunting, the Packers have gone 13-3, 13-3. So I think his overall record is now 28-7. So he's now 2-1 in the playoffs, and he's one game from the Super Bowl in his second year.
In a row.
2 years, 2 division titles, 2 13-3 records, and now he's in the NFC Championship again. Drew, when the Packers made this coaching change, a lot of people thought the coach they had at the time, Mike McCarthy, didn't deserve to get fired because Mike McCarthy had put up an impressive record. He had been the Packers coach since 2006, and in the let's see, 2 years leading up to him getting fired, in 2016 he went to the NFC Championship game. 2017 he went 7-9, but that was that famous year Aaron Rodgers got hurt by Anthony Barr. That was the year the Vikings went to the NFC Championship. 2017, they went 7-9. 2018, he was fired after a 4-7-1 start. So they fired him after one injury-plagued year and then kind of a slow start the next year. And in that time, he went 125, 77-2, a winning percentage of almost 62%.
Wow.
Yet they canned him. One record before 2018 when he got fired, only had one season where he was under 500. And I believe that was 2008. So that was fairly earlier in his coaching tenure. Every other year, above 500, going to the playoffs. They did not hesitate to make a move.
Like Jeffrey Lurie did not hesitate.
Like Jeffrey Lurie did not hesitate with Doug Peterson.
And look at how it's worked out for them.
What are your thoughts on that whole situation between the Packers and the Vikings?
When that stuff was happening with McCarthy, there was a lot of negative stuff flowing into that organization. And it was, he started to have problems with Aaron Rodgers, whatever. A lot of things were steamrolling him at that point.
Yeah.
And that bad culture, you're going to get fired feeling that the Minnesota has now was there. They just came in, dude, with a machete and one clean sweep. He was losing games, and then as soon as the Rodgers thing came out where there was, I don't even know if it was true, but he doesn't get along with Mike McCarthy, I knew it was over. I thought, they're in complete disarray. The new guy's going to get rolled over, and we're going to own the NFC North. This has gone literally the worst way it could have gone.
People that say, well, you can't compare Green Bay to Minnesota because they have Aaron Rodgers, and he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. This is where the pro Cousins crowd loses it for me, because after 2017, Kirk Cousins was brought in to be your franchise guy.
Yes.
And the Vikings said, Kirk Cousins is the missing link for us to get to the Super Bowl.
Right.
So you can't say, well, they have a Hall of Fame quarterback and we've got Kirk Cousins. No. Kirk Cousins was brought in to do exactly what Aaron Rodgers is doing, and that's win football games and get the Vikings to the next level.
That is exactly right.
So you can't, I'm sorry, but you can't use that argument. If Kirk Cousins is that guy that the pro Cousins crowd says, well, he's great stats, he's got this great passer rating in the fourth quarter, and whatever nerd numbers you want to throw at me, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. What's the Vikings? Well, they had a bad defense. Again, doesn't matter. When the Packers won the Super Bowl in 2010, they did it with a bad defense. Aaron Rodgers played out of his mind and went on a roll. The Packers defense this year is just middle of the roadish, 13, 14, 15. So it's nothing spectacular, but they are getting great quarterback play and great offensive production. I would argue the Vikings have that in them, but they don't do that.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't have any better of offensive weapons than Kirk Cousins does.
No. I mean, you can say, well, Devontae Adams is way better than Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. I would argue if Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen were utilized the way the Packers used Devontae Adams, which is completely opposite offensive philosophy, the Packers use the pass to set up the run, and they have a very good running game. Everybody talks about the Vikings had top 5 this offense and top 5, whatever it was, and it's in yards. They're like 11th or 12th in scoring. A lot of that offensive production were like empty calories, man. It's like eating a donut. You don't get anything out of it. At the end of the day, you don't score points. It doesn't matter. So
maybe you don't, man, but I get a lot out of eating donuts, man. I like maple bars. What's your donut? What's your go-to donut of choice?
Chocolate covered chocolate.
Chocolate covered chocolate?
Yeah.
No,
come at me,
maple
bro.
Bar. You're a maple bar? You're gonna pass up
maple.
chocolate covered chocolate.
From
What are you,
Michigan.
112?
What are you, Michigan? You from Michigan?
I want a cruller, but I want it plain. Plain cruller.
Really?
Plain cruller.
Really, Mr. Maple Bar? That's what my grandma used to eat. Every argument the Vikings fans make about, well, we can't be the Packers because they have Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry, your argument is invalid. Because the Vikings brought in Kirk Cousins, maybe not necessarily to be a Hall of Famer, but to be what Aaron Rodgers is doing right now.
Kirk Cousins, since he got here, 26, 22, and 1. And he's got to the playoffs one time in 3 years. I mean,
yeah.
And people don't want to say, well, W's aren't just a quarterback stat. Well, they're Pro Football Reference puts down the wins and losses for a quarterback. There's a reason they do it.
If you have a difference maker at quarterback, Kirk Cousins would be a lot better than 26, 22, and 1 or whatever his record is.
Ted Glover, when you watch Aaron Rodgers play, how many times during the course of this game do you say, man, our guy can't make that play? How many times?
I don't. You know what? I'll keep track of it. I'll
do it this week.
I'll do a tally. No, he couldn't have done that. No, he couldn't have done that. No, he couldn't have done that.
That's the difference.
That's the main difference right there. Contrast that whole thing with LaFleur, with Mike Zimmer. You know, he just gets excuse after excuse made and pass after pass. Well, this happened and that happened. Well, Aaron Rodgers broke his collarbone. The Packers missed the playoffs, and next year he got fired. After Aaron Rodgers was healthy and they had all their guys back and whatever, he was still canned when the Packers didn't do well. See, that would have been a Mike Zimmer excuse year.
Sure.
But the Packers, Aaron Rodgers is coming off injury and got new players on defense, and he's trying to get used to his new receivers. And we'll just give him one more year.
I'm sick of one team has excuses and one team just gets it done. And I'm sick of being the excuse team. I am done with it, of being run over by them.
We've got at least one more year of whatever it is they're going to do in the draft and however they're going to assemble the team. So we just got to wait and see.
Don't worry, Drew. If it all goes to hell, we'll just fire him at the end of the year. Why do I hear that so much? Why does that doesn't give me any good feeling?
It just feels like the Vikings are delaying the inevitable. And look, I want to be wrong. And I want the Vikings to go 13-3 next year and tear up the NFL. I'm just the current direction and the current approach and the current vision. I just don't see 13-3 next year.
Mike Zimmer is our head coach. Rick Spielman is our general manager, so I am in full support. Get it done, guys. Go get it and be goddamn angry that the Packers keep winning the division every year. Get the division back. Yeah. Come on, man.
But he's like, okay, whatever. 7-9 is the best we could have done. Status quo, we're not going to change anything in the front office. But we're going to magically be better. We're just going to sprinkle magic fairy football dust all over the organization. And poof, 13-3. All right. So is it time for Toontz's Trivia?
It is, but you know what we like to have before Toontz's Trivia, Ted Glover?
Got to do a commercial.
You like the I
love the commercials. I love them.
I want people to know out there, these commercials, we don't know what's coming at us usually. It's all from our great producer, Elizabeth. She finds these commercials and she throws them out there and we love them. Elizabeth, we love you. And thank you for all that you've done for us. We're going to have Toontz's Trivia right now, but we're going to go to the commercial and we'll be back.
This is high karate aftershave. If a man uses too much, he's asking for trouble, and usually finds it. Because just one whiff drives women wild. Makes men irresistible. Fortunately, every pack of high karate contains indispensable instruction on self-defense. High karate aftershave. Be careful how you use it.
Fran Tarkenton for Johnson's Baby Shampoo.
You may recognize the face, Fran Tarkenton, but the hair? This dirty, even I don't recognize it. I've got a shampoo every day. That's a lot of shampooing. So I use this, Johnson's Baby Shampoo. It's gentle. When you shampoo as often as I do, it doesn't make sense to use anything harsh. Johnson's makes my hair look thick and healthy. But tomorrow, it'll look like this again. Good thing Johnson's Baby Shampoo is gentle enough to use every day. From Johnson & Johnson.
Welcome to Toontz's Trivia.
Hello, Toontz's.
Hello, Toontz's.
Hello. Today we're going to be doing Family Feud. We're going to play the fast money round.
There we
Ted
go.
will be going first.
All right.
All right, Ted, we have 5 questions. Top answers. You need to get to 200 points with Drew. Ready?
All righty. Okay.
All right, here we go. Name a sport Some mothers hope their child never plays.
Football.
Name a state that has a lot of sports teams.
California.
Name a professional sport where the players make a lot of money.
Baseball.
Name an athlete who made the news for being involved in a big scandal.
Kobe Bryant.
Name an actor who started out as an athlete.
Bubba Smith.
Okay. Let's see how you did.
I'm not too sure about those last couple answers.
Name a sport some mothers hope their child never plays. You said football. Survey said 34 points.
Yes.
Boom. Name a state that has a lot of sports teams. You said California. Survey said 30 points. Boom. Name a professional sport where the players make a lot of money. You said baseball. Survey said 27 points.
Yes.
Very good. Name an athlete who made the news for being involved in a big scandal. You said Kobe Bryant.
Like a long time ago.
Survey said. Sorry.
Oh,
All right.
that hurts.
Name an actor who started out as an athlete. You said Bubba Smith. Survey said. Sorry.
That's so bad.
Let's see. You got a total of 91 points. All right.
That's all right.
Let's bring Drew back on. Drew, Ted got 91 points.
Yes.
Yes. You are going to need 109 points to win.
No, I'm going to get 109.
Okay, Drew, name a sport mothers hope their child never plays.
Football.
Guess again.
Boxing.
Name a state that has a lot of sports teams.
Florida.
Name a professional sport where the players make a lot of money.
Baseball.
Guess again.
Football.
Name an athlete who made the news for being involved in a big scandal.
Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Name an athlete, or excuse me, name an actor who started out as an athlete.
Ed Marinero.
All right, Drew.
Shit, I should have said Fred Dreyer.
Oh, Fred Dreyer would have been a good one.
Name a sport some mothers hope their child never plays. You said boxing. And survey said, Number one answer was hockey.
Damn it!
Yeah. All right, name a state that has a lot of sports teams. You said Florida. The survey said 18 points for that one.
Did you say California, Ted?
I did,
yes,
yeah.
He
That's
did.
why I didn't. I thought he would. Okay. California and Florida have to be top two, man. Come on.
No, top answer on the board was New York. Name a professional sport where the players make a lot of money.
Football.
You said football. That was the number one answer. 29 points.
Yes.
29. That's 138.
All right, and here's where it all goes down the toilet. Name an athlete.
Thanks.
Name an athlete who made the news for being involved in a big scandal. You said Shoeless Joe Jackson. And the survey said,
How could that be? It was the Red Sox, the World Series. He threw the World Series.
What was number one?
Number one was Lance Armstrong. And just for fun, I'm going to give you the other ones too. Lance Armstrong, Tiger Woods, OJ, Barry Bonds, Mike Tyson, Colin Kaepernick, Oscar Pistorius, and Michael Vick. Name an actor who started out as an athlete. You said
Fred
Ed
Dreyer.
Marinero.
I said Fred Dreyer.
Well, either one would have been.
Really?
I got no points on the last two.
The Rock.
Who?
Oh, The Rock.
The
Yeah.
Rock.
Ah, dude, we
Followed
totally
by
just suck at
John
this.
Cena, Shaq, Bruce Lee, and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Maybe not next week, but I want to reboot this Family Feud and give me and Smitty another shot at it because we could do better. We could do better. 138 is not acceptable in our book.
That's absolutely terrible. Maybe 139 points is just the best we could have done.
Oh!
No, we'll just keep the status quo and we'll see how it goes next week.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
So that concludes trivia where we got smoked again this week. It is now time, Drew Bunting, for our pick segment. Yeah, that's right. It's our pick segment time.
What's the score?
I believe I'm still up 2 with 3 games to go.
10 playoff games and you got 9 right.
I'm 9-1. You're 7-3.
We have a bet going. The loser has to sing the other school's fight song that he's Ohio State, I'm Michigan, of course. And that's the bet.
So we've got 2 games this weekend. It's Championship Sunday. Because Drew is down 2, I'll let him choose which game he wants to pick first. The Sunday game, or I'm sorry, they're both Sunday. My bad. 3:05 Eastern NFC game on Fox, Tampa Bay at Green Bay. The AFC game at 6:40 Eastern on CBS. The Bills at the Chiefs. Which game are you going to pick, and who are you going to pick to win?
I am going to pick the Sunday game, and I'm going with Tom Brady.
You're picking the Buccaneers in an upset.
I am picking the Buccaneers in the biggest upset of the season.
I hate to, but I have to go with. I'm going to go with Green Bay.
Okay, it's Monday, so we're picking this without knowing what's going on with the quarterback situation.
Yeah, we have no idea what's going on with is Patrick Mahomes going to play or not. So we're recording this on Monday. It very well could be Chad Henne for the Chiefs. I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills. I don't want to give you my strategy as to why I'm picking the Buffalo Bills.
I got to do it, man. I got to go with the Chiefs just to try to make up ground. This is really interesting. We got the face of the NFL, the face of the franchise, and the face of the NFL. You watch how quickly this concussion protocol changes this week.
Oh, I bet.
Watch.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
It'll be like Ohio State all of a sudden getting eligible for the Big Ten championship game. Okay.
That's it.
That'll do it. So, folks, again, I can't thank you guys enough for watching and subscribing. I mean, we're at, I think, almost 280 subscribers now. We've had thousands of views for every episode.
Thanks again for all the people who watch and subscribe and like this show. And we're always going to try to keep making it better. We want to make it entertaining, and we hope you enjoy it. But we are always thankful that you tune in with us. And that's about all we got for episode 4. So I will say goodnight to all you beautiful folks. Say goodnight, Ted.
Good night, Ted.